Dear all, thank you for joining me today. Today's lecture is about research paradigms. In our agenda, we have four main issues that we need to sort out before starting our own research projects. Today we will talk about ontology, epistemology, and methodology. These are the most important philosophical questions, philosophical concepts that we need to discuss closely in order to know how we are going to construct our own research. We will talk about two main research traditions such as positivism and constructivism. And also we will try to differentiate quantitative and qualitative research from each other, how different they are, and which type of research approach would be used in our own research and why. And then finally, we will talk about our own philosophical position, what our position ontologically, epistemologically, and methodologically, and what it means for us and for our future research projects. Well, I'm saying research projects, your research projects, and so on, because hopefully by now you already know that at the end of this course, you are expected to produce an academic paper based on your own research projects. That is why I will refer sometimes to saying to your work, but you already know, hopefully, about that. So ontology. Ontology studies the nature of the social world, right? And when I say social world, I mean the world where we all as human beings live and communicate with other people, right? So this is our world, social world. And when I say the nature of the social world, I mean such questions as, can our social reality, our social world, exist independently from us, human beings? Whether it is there, right, out there, independent from us, right? Or do we co-construct our social reality together as human beings? In other words, it is a question whether people can influence their social reality. If to the first question we say yes, right, it exists independently from us, it means that we as human beings cannot change it, cannot influence it in any way because it's independent from us. But if we say that we can co-construct, and we do co-construct our social reality together as people, in this case, there is a possibility to influence and to change it for the better or for the worse. Epistemology. So ontology, I said that it studies the nature of the social world. Here I'm studying that it studies the nature of knowledge, okay? So, and researchers embarking into the process of conducting research in social sciences, they need to ask themselves such questions: is knowledge objective or subjective? Whether it is value-free or not. And we will talk about this in more details soon. Methodology. Methodology actually is a process of studying knowledge. Well, the process of studying the social world, the process of acquiring knowledge about our social reality. And these ontological and epistemological principles, I would say, beliefs of a researcher, would dictate how he or she conducts research. Let me, elaborate on this idea a little bit more here. So we have a research tradition that is called positivism. So ontologically, positivism means that social reality is governed by laws and theories that exist independently from human beings. So this is the position, ontological position of positivism. And epistemologically, positivism considers knowledge as objective and that can be acquired based on careful observation and measurement. In other words, knowledge is objective and it can be measured. So when we combine these two positions within the large framework of positivism, we will come up to the conclusion that methodologically, people who believe in positivism, they gravitate towards conducting quantitative research. And quantitative research usually begins with a theory and a set of hypotheses. And researchers examine causal relationships between different variables. Researchers collect and analyze numerical data, and that is why we say that the knowledge that we acquire in the process of conducting quantitative research can be measured. And because it can be measured, we consider it as objective. Well, I say we because I'm talking about quantitative research in positivism, but of course you realize that we are talking about other researchers who conduct quantitative research. Constructivism. So this is the second theory that, the second tradition that we will talk about. It's not theory, I'm sorry, it's tradition. So constructivism, ontologically, constructivism considers social reality as socially, culturally, and historically constructed. So, which means that people, they construct their social realities, reality, together, because it cannot exist independently from people. Epistemologically, this means that knowledge is context-specific. And if you remember just a minute ago, I said that epistemology about knowledge, whether it is objective and subjective. And in positivism, we said that it is objective. Here, I'm not saying subjective, please pay attention. I'm not saying that knowledge is subjective. I'm saying that it is context-specific. Why? Because, well, it's, I would say, arguably, right? Subjective results in any type of research, whether it's positive, well, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, or maybe it's mixed study, it's not considered like a very good outcome. Well, I'm saying arguably because we have narrative research, we have certain case studies where the subjectivity is sometimes even welcomed, right? But in general, we say about acknowledging the subjectivity and trying to eliminate it somehow, as far as it is possible to do from our research projects. That is why I'm saying arguably, right? But here I wanted to emphasize that it is context specific. It's not subjective, it is context specific. It's specific to the context research participants living. So researchers try to understand the social reality from the perspectives of research participants. We are interested as researchers in the perspectives of the research positions, in their social reality, in their context, in their opinions, in their experiences, and so on. So again, social constructivist researchers, they usually tend to conduct qualitative research that begins from identifying a context-based problem or problems, developing research question, generating meaning from the data collected in the process of investigation. And researchers collect and analyze non-numerical data. So the data that cannot be measured, right? What kind of data I'm talking about? I'm talking about interviews. Well, not interviews, but I would say interview transcripts, because we are dealing with text, right? It can be, well, audio or any type of audio, video recording. It can be a documentary or some other kind of movie or film. But we are also talking about the document analysis. We are talking about analyzing diaries, social media, and so on. Posts in social media. News and other type of textual information. So our position within the frames of our course would be constructivism. And here a disclaimer, I would say, except positivism and constructivism, there are several other traditions of research in social sciences. We are talking about positivism and constructivism, but there are also traditions of pragmatism, feminist theories, critical theories. But why we're talking only about positivism, constructivism, it's because I wanted you to, in your minds, to differentiate these two traditions from each other in order to understand why we are dealing with constructivism as social research, because we are conducting qualitative research, well, interview-based qualitative research. And we will consider social reality is co-constructed and knowledge as context-specific. Why? I'm not saying by any means that constructivism is better or superior in some way to positivism. It is a belief, it's a system of beliefs, right? And every researcher decides for himself or herself when, trying to understand what kind of research that should be conducted. And usually it depends on many factors. It might depend on the problem, it might depend on the maybe theoretical framework of a certain problem, where this problem generates from. It can depend on the preferences, methodological preferences of a researcher, or it might depend on the research questions, like nature of the research question, whether it is more towards qualitative or quantitative design. But our course is called qualitative research in social sciences. That is why we will base our philosophical traditions in constructivism. Okay, so one more point that I wanted to emphasize here is that when I say social reality is co-constructed, I do not mean only the research participants, right? Because if we say that we co-construct the reality, it means that researchers who entered during their fieldwork into this reality, stepped in the reality of their participants. It means that they became co-participants as well. So they are in the process of co-constructing the social reality. They influence somehow. And then I already mentioned it, in order to avoid subjectivity and bias, researchers usually try to be aware of their own role in the research project. And they try to somehow maybe not eliminate, but consider these kind of influences and try to explain them, how they acknowledge that, and how it related to the overall findings of the research project. And also I said that the knowledge is context specific. That would mean that when you choose, or maybe you've already chosen, I'm not sure, I'm pre-recording this, of course, this lecture, which means that we will pay a lot of attention to the context of your problem, to the context of your topic. And it is very important for us, because we are considering the social reality as co-constructed and the knowledge is context specific. So that is the main 2 points that I would like you to remember about social constructivism. So literature for self-study. There is a very, very good book by Ritchie and Lewis, and actually this presentation is built on their work. They have a book, it's called Qualitative Research Practice, a guide for social science students and researchers. I highly recommend to go to our university website and download this book. Actually, I will use several books. We won't have like one textbook. We will try to use different sources in order to have different opinions. But for this lecture, for this philosophical traditions, in order to study them more deeply, I recommend this book particularly, Qualitative Research Practice, a guide for social science students and researchers. Again, it's available online in the PDF format on the university website. Yeah, thank you for your attention, and see you soon during our Zoom sessions. Goodbye.